Hello everyone, welcome. Today I want to talk about social media, the impacts that it's having on so many of our lives, where we're needlessly scrolling every single day, the impacts that it's having on our mental health, how it's actually changing the trajectory of our lives because where we could be branching out and trying new things, we're not because we're choosing to sit there and get the easy dopamine hit rather than doing something which is going to be hard and something which might be fearful. It's so much easier for us to just default to that thing that's going to be really easy. And also how it's affecting the connections with those around us. Because social media was originally created to connect people, but now it's become so disconnecting. And people are actually getting more lonely, more depressed, more anxious as time is going on and with more social media use. So there's a real problem here. So I really want to address this today, talk a bit about it. And also at the end, I want to say some things that I've done and will continue to improve on to help reduce my social media use and use social media as a good tool, something that it can actually help us and push us forward rather than numb us out and keep us avoiding and, have us missing out on true connection. So I want to get straight in. And the first thing I would love for you to do is to go and check your daily average screen time and what apps you've been using. So it's really easy to do. I can't help you if you're on Android, but if you're on iPhone, go into your settings. It's under screen time. It's not that far down the list. And then you can see your daily average. Mine last week was 5.5 hours. And bearing in mind, I've got things in place to actually help me scroll less. So a lot of mine isn't actually Instagram, TikTok, things like that. It's mainly like me researching and messaging people. But that's a lot of time on my phone. And then when I go into it, this week, what have I spent? I've spent 2 hours on Instagram this week. Or a Thursday, 4 days. So that's 30 minutes a day. It's not the worst. But I checked someone's this morning and theirs was between 6 and 10 hours daily. And a lot of that was Instagram and TikTok. And that's where you get caught out. That's the needless scrolling that really just numbs us out. We're getting these cheap dopamine hits over and over, getting blasted with dopamine. Then what it actually does, and what I mean by numbing out, is it numbs us out to actual life. Things in life that were fun no longer become fun because we get so much stimulation from this such simple device and this simple act. And to back up what I'm saying, there's studies now that are showing that depression, anxiety, loneliness are all on the rise, all contributed to social media use. I read a study this morning that said something like, I'm going to nearly get this right, but maybe not fully. It was girls between the age of 10 and 14, suicide rates are up 300% in the last 5 years, I think. That is sad. And they are attributing that to social media use. And the fact is that when you get someone online, people can be so vile when they're behind a keyboard. And you get someone that, say, a child, a young person who is getting bullied and they're struggling with that, they end up taking their own life. I think every single person watching this has seen vile stuff online, if not experienced it. People can be so horrid when they've got anonymity or even just when they're behind a keyboard. So there's that side of it where it's really affecting not only our mental health, but the connections around us. The more that we get this cheap connection from social media, we're actually disconnected from those that we really love. Like when you get in from work and you sit down together on the sofa, but you both just sit there scrolling your phones. Or you go out for a meal together and you both sit there scrolling your phones. Or you're both in bed together and it could be a really good time to connect after the long day. One of you's on your phone. And I've been guilty of that. I've been really guilty of that. I still sit there at night researching. I've had all bloody day to do that. Yet I still continue to do it in bed when I could actually be connecting with my partner. But then there's the side of it where so many of us will choose social media over doing something like, and gaming as well, for me, massively gaming, that has really had an impact on my life in a negative way. And I would love to make a video on that in future. But they do link closely. Both is, you're getting connection out of it. You're getting those cheap dopamine hits. It's like you get similar things from both of them. You can get a sense of identity from it. Like on social media, you post your best life and you want everyone to think you're a certain way. You get that on games as well, where you can become you have a good character on a game, he has really good gear and equipment, and you're a high level, and people think you're something in that game, and then it gives you like a sense of worth. Same with social media, but actually, a lot of the time, we go on social media, we compare ourselves, and we feel shit. We look at everyone else's good life, and it reminds us of what we might not have. And it actually makes us have lack of gratitude for the things that we do have. Because people watching this, although we get so caught up and so lost, we know that, happiness is actually not as far as we think away. We get happiness from just being with those around us that we love and that make us laugh. And when we're connected to the people around us, that's fulfilling. That makes us feel so connected. And as humans, it's really important. So there's this side of it where it's there's this side of it where it's really. So there's this side of it where it is disconnecting us and making us more lonely and affecting our mental health. But also then there's the side of choosing social media or gaming over your business, over trying something new. Because the thing is that the more it's very similar to something like coffee or alcohol, where the more you do it, the more of a tolerance you build up. So someone that just gets Instagram and starts scrolling, they're going to get a lot of a bigger dopamine hit from it than someone that's been doing it a long time, because we build up tolerance. And then it becomes harder to get the same hit out of it. Now, then what also happens is you build up the tolerance, is that everyday things that you would otherwise enjoy become more boring. And what people find when they then stop social media, and this is when they find out they're addicted, because what they're faced with is the boredom, the irritability. And I had this from gaming. I deleted the game recently. The next few days, I was so bored and irritable. And there was a bit of a fear of missing out, but that's another thing as well. We also get the fear of missing out. The real thing that we're missing out on is when we're on social media and we're missing out on life. So, I'm really demonizing social media here, but there is good with it as well. When it's used in the right way, like, me creating this video and being able to share this information, I'm so grateful to be able to share this right now and for people to be able to watch it. If you're using it to enhance your knowledge on something, like I use Twitter specifically for crypto. I only follow crypto people. And that's like some of the stuff I want to talk about at the end of like ways we can use it to our advantage. But I really want to bring this into people's awareness, because this could have such a big impact on someone's life. Like just one person who was to watch this video and to start going on their phone less, they might start something new. They might start the business that they've been wanting to do for a long time, try a new passion. Recently, I've been playing piano, and that has been so fun. Instead of like just sitting there on my phone, needlessly scrolling, multiple times a day, I'll go on my piano, 10, 15 minutes at a time, whenever I've got a free moment and I just feel to. I usually come off it after 15 minutes because I'm not that good, and I get quite irritable. After 15 minutes, I'm like, fuck this. Fingers are not working, hitting all the wrong keys. But what I am finding every single day, that I am getting a bit better also. And if I never started piano because I was still clogged up with gaming and other things, I wouldn't be learning this awesome skill, which actually, when I play it, it's very therapeutic. So I want you to think about, what is it that you're not doing at the minute that you would love to do? And where are you wasting your time? What's something that you want to start that you haven't started yet, that you might feel a bit of fear around? Because your brain's a sneaky one. It'll always stop you doing that thing. Like this recording right now, I've been wanting to do this for years. I've had a lot of fear around this, a lot of fear. And it was always easier for me to jump on my game rather than actually face getting up and creating a video. And because it was so easy and it felt so good because I'm just getting smashed with dopamine whilst playing it, I chose that for so long over creating videos. Now though, I've stopped playing and I've started creating videos, I'm now getting big dopamine hits from creating videos. It's switched over. My brain's now rewired to go, oh, you could create a video and that's going to give you some dopamine and it's going to feel really good. And the byproduct then is like I'm helping people, which then makes me feel really fulfilled. So you can see how once we break the cycle of being on our phone and doing these things which are not serving us, how we can then start bringing in things which do serve us, and how we actually start really enjoying doing those things, especially when we get over the fear, because our mind will always tell us that it's going to be worse than it is. I remember seeing this graph, and this graph, it had it was a line graph, and it said fear down the bottom, like this is your fear level, right down the bottom. When you think of a new idea. So let's say you think of a business idea and you start getting excited about it, and you start thinking about business names and like the product and whatever it is or the service you're offering. And it's really exciting for the first half hour, an hour, or however long. But then the thoughts start creeping in, and that's the fear, and it starts going up and it starts building. Oh, I just can't do that. I'll never be good enough. Oh, isn't anyone going to buy my product? No one's going to listen to me. And the fear builds. And then it gets to a really high point and people stop and people never take the action on the idea. But what you actually find is that when you take the action, the fear goes from up here and it drops right down. And the reason it drops right down is because once you actually start, you realize that all of the things that you were scared about, none of them are actually happening. Or if they do happen, it's not as scary as that actually you may think. Like so many of us have a fear of being judged. I've had such a fear of being judged creating these videos. And that fear of judgment will stop someone from doing something. But actually now I've started and I'm thinking, if someone judges me, like, I really don't care, because I'm not wasting any more time not creating videos. I don't care. They'll get over it. I know it's not about me. It's about them. Their judging me is the reflection that I'm bringing up something uncomfortable in them, and then they're judging me for it. So one thing I want to say is about dopamine. The brain is a sneaky little thing. It wants to get as much pleasure as it can with as little pain. Meaning, it wants to do the easiest thing possible. It doesn't care if it serves you or not. It just wants to do the most easy thing possible and get the most pleasure from it. So it's really important for us to be mindful of this, because we can so easily be swayed in directions that are not best serving us. And the more we can become aware of actually these internal processes and how they're trying to pull us in directions and how it's not serving us for our greater good. And this is why it's so important to actually check in, because like I say, for so long, if I was to just close my eyes and sit there and think to myself, is gaming serving me? My body literally tells me no. And you would have heard it within, like, it sounds very guru, spiritual guru sort of vibe, all the answers are from within. So many of your answers are from within. You've just never looked within. You haven't looked within enough. But the more you would start looking within, the more you would find that the answers are actually there. And what I mean by that is humans can be so easily manipulated from what they see externally. A good example is, watching the news and then ending up in a state of fear. Like, you're watching something which is completely outside of your control and you can't do anything about it in that moment. And yet you are now in a state of fear, which is then disempowering you from taking control in your own life and being in a higher vibration of happiness, love, or joy, because we can only be in one emotion at once. Like if you took two people, both have had the exact same day, one decides to go home and watch the news, the other decides to go home and play piano, as it's the first thing in my head. Who would you rather be? The one that ends up in a state of fear after their day, or the one that carries on their day in a much more positive, healthy way? You'd want to be this one, right? You'd want to be the one that ends up with a much more positive day. When social media is not used right, it's destroying our mental health. It's destroying our children's mental health. It's making them learn to seek the easy option of getting a quick fix rather than actually doing something which is going to be beneficial to them or actually help their mental state. It's lowering our opportunity, because the more time that we spend with our head in our phone, there's so much that we could be missing out on. There's connections that we could be making, which could be leading to the next stage of our life or the next thing, or a new path may open. It's making us more lonely, more depressed, and more anxious. So if you could just take one thing that I'm about to say now from this video and make this as a change, it would be the start of you just breaking the habit. The start of creating a new path, and you just don't know where that path's going to lead. So number one, and this one's a big one, is you can go into the screen time on your phone and you can limit certain apps. You can limit the time you can use the app for before a lock comes on, or you can just set it so the app's completely locked off until you decide otherwise. So you can wake up in the morning, start your work day, have Instagram, TikTok, and anything which isn't really going to be productive to you locked until you've finished your day, and then go on, for example. Number 2, and I've done this a long time ago, I moved all of the social media apps to the last screen on my phone. And then I replaced all of the apps on the front screen to invest in apps, because that was something which was more aligned with what I was wanting to learn. Number 3, Facebook specifically, I deleted that off my phone, and now the only way I can access it is through the internet. So I have to sign in on the internet, which I never bothered doing. It's very rarely I go on that now. Number 4, you can create a new Instagram account and you can follow people on there specifically aligned for what you're wanting to learn more of or see. Or with your current account, you can either delete people off there, which I've done on Twitter. I deleted all the people I had on Twitter and replaced them with crypto people. So when I go on Twitter, it's only crypto content. And on your normal social media, you can just like all of the stuff you want to see. And I think you might even be able to mark what stuff you're not interested in as well, I think. So there's 2 things you can do there. And then the algorithm will start giving you more of things you actually want to see. Because Instagram's a bugger. Like, you could see something which isn't really something you want to see, but it interests you. Like, for me, I might get a UFC video pop up because I do enjoy training MMA, but it's not something I really want to watch a lot of when I go onto social media. I want to, look at business stuff, for example. But where I do get intrigued by it, I watch it and then the algorithm throws more in front of me. So it's just really be mindful. Is that something you actually want to see? And if not, put not interested and make sure that, you're giving love and more time to the things which you do want to see more of. Number 4, now this one's a bit of a different one, but you can actually set on iPhone. Don't know how it's done on Samsung, but you can. Number 4, this is a bit of a different one, a bit random, but it does work. You can set your iPhone, you can probably do it on Android as well. You can set it to black and white by clicking the lock button 3 times. It's a shortcut you have to set up. But when your phone's in black and white, your brain doesn't register the same. It doesn't get the same kind of level of dopamine from seeing the content. So it becomes a lot less interesting and therefore you're less likely to scroll. But what I find is that if my phone's in black and white, it just reminds me straight away, like, don't even bother. And lastly, number 5, which is the most important, maybe after this video, go spend some time with your partner, put the phone down, ask them how their day was, go spend some time with the kids and start working on that real connection. Because the reels, the posts, they'll all still be there tomorrow. They're endless and they always will be. There'll always be a constant supply if you ever do go and scroll and want to get that dopamine hit. But the real connections in our life, if we neglect them, they might not end up being there down the line. So thank you for your time and listening to me today. Where this is my second video, any views that I see on it or anyone that's liked it or left a comment, it really means so much because it's taken me so much to be able to stand up here and do this and to actually start it. And I'm super appreciative and grateful for anyone that gives me the time to listen to what I say. And, if they can just take one thing from it, that's a job so well done for me. Thank you. Until the next one, much love.